For 11 years, Alan Alda was the heart of MAS*H. He was Hawkeye Pierce, the wisecracking surgeon who made millions laugh while tackling the horrors of war. But behind the smiles and the Emmy Awards, something dark was brewing. Alda was known as the nicest guy in Hollywood, yet he carried a secret hatred for someone he worked with for years. Now, at 88 years old, the actor has finally broken his silence. The truth he just admitted about how much he truly hated this person has shocked fans and revealed a hidden war that was even more intense than anything on screen. Alan Alda was Hollywood's golden boy. He played Hawkeye Pierce, the charming army surgeon who made people laugh while making them think. For 11 years, he was the face of MAS*H, the show that became one of the biggest hits in television history. He didn't just act in it. He wrote episodes. He directed them. He shaped the show into something that felt real and raw and human. Alda won Emmys. He won Golden Globes. He was nominated for an Academy Award. People adored him. He was funny and smart and seemed like the nicest person you could ever meet. Fans believed the cast of MAS*H was one big happy family. They saw the jokes and the laughter and the tears on screen and assumed it was the same behind the scenes. But television sets are not always what they seem. They are workplaces. And workplaces have tension. They have egos. They have people who just don't get along. MAS*H was no different. McLean Stevenson, who played Colonel Henry Blake, was unhappy because he felt like he was always second to Alda's Hawkeye. He wanted to be the star. He wanted to be number one. So he left the show after just 3 seasons. Wayne Rogers, who played Trapper John, left for similar reasons. He felt his character was being pushed aside while Alda got all the attention. The show went through cast changes like a revolving door. But through it all, Alda stayed. He was the constant. He was the heart of MAS*H. And he kept his frustrations private. But now, at 88 years old, the mask has slipped. Alda has finally admitted something that changes everything. He hated someone he worked with for years. Not just disliked. Hated. And the story behind that hatred is more complicated than anyone ever imagined. So who was it? And why is he only telling us now? The MAS*H set was supposed to be a place of laughter. But behind the scenes, it was often a pressure cooker. Alda was the star, but he didn't always act like one. In the early years, he stayed distant from the rest of the cast. He would show up, deliver his lines, contribute his ideas, and then fly home to New Jersey on Friday. When conflicts broke out on set, he didn't step in. He walked away. He went to his dressing room and sat there until the storm passed. For a man who was the face of the show, this aloofness surprised many. Some people expected the star to set the tone, to be the leader, to keep everyone in line. But Alda didn't see himself that way. He was an actor, not a babysitter. He wanted to do his job and go home. This created a strange dynamic on set. With Alda keeping his distance, other cast members started to act out. McLean Stevenson, who played Colonel Blake, began demanding special treatment. He wanted to do only one take because Sinatra only did one take. He wanted to sit down in scenes because Sinatra always sat down. Gary Berghoff, who played Radar, drove directors crazy by asking what his character's motivation was for every single scene. Loretta Swit became argumentative and difficult. Only Wayne Rogers and Larry Linville seemed to cause no problems at all. The tension grew so bad that one director, Jackie Cooper, asked Alda for help. Cooper wrote in his autobiography that Stevenson, Berghoff, and Swit were terrors on set. He asked Alda to intervene, to use his influence to calm everyone down. Alda refused. He wasn't there to police other actors. He was there to do his job. This refusal made Cooper furious. But looking back, was Alda really wrong? He was an actor, not a manager. Asking him to control grown adults was unfair. But here's the thing about Alda. He wasn't as distant as people thought. He just had a different way of handling things. And when the tension reached a breaking point, he didn't walk away. He made a choice that would change everything. Alan Alda and Mike Farrell had one of the most complicated relationships on the set of MAS*H. Farrell played B.J. Honeycutt, the replacement for Wayne Rogers after he left the show. On screen, B.J. and Hawkeye were best friends. They joked together, drank together, and faced the horrors of war together. Off-screen, Alda and Farrell were also close friends. But that did not mean they always agreed. One argument between them became so intense that it was written directly into an episode. It happened during Season 7, in an episode called Preventative Medicine. The story was simple. A terrible officer named Lieutenant Lacey was sending his men to die for his own career. Hawkeye decided to do something extreme. He planned to perform an unnecessary surgery on Lacey to remove his appendix and get him out of the war zone. BJ was horrified. He refused to take part. In the original script, BJ just went along with the plan. But Farrell objected. He told the writers that his character would never agree to something so unethical. He argued that BJ had sworn an oath to do no harm. Alda and Farrell debated the morality of the situation for a long time. But this was not a screaming match. It was a thoughtful discussion between two intelligent actors who cared deeply about their characters. The writer Ken Levine later said there was no real tension between them. They simply disagreed and decided to use that disagreement to make the episode better. The argument was rewritten into the script. On screen, viewers saw BJ refuse to help Hawkeye. They saw two best friends fight about what was right and wrong. That made the episode one of the most compelling of the entire series. This was the kind of conflict that actually improved the show. But not all tension on the set was so productive. There were other clashes that were far more personal. And one of them involved someone who did not just argue with Alda. He truly hated him. The tension on the set of MAS*H was not just about creative differences. It was about something deeper. It was about feeling unseen, undervalued, and trapped in a situation that was supposed to be a dream job. McLean Stevenson left because he was jealous. Wayne Rogers left because he was frustrated. But the person who truly made Alan Alda miserable was different. He was not someone who left early. He was someone who stayed for years. Someone who made every day on set feel like a battle. That person was Gary Burghoff, the actor who played Radar O'Reilly. Burghoff was the only actor to appear in both the 1970 MAS*H movie and the television series. He brought Radar to life with a unique charm that audiences loved. But behind the scenes, things were very different. Reports from the set paint a clear picture. Burghoff was often described as moody and isolated. He had a tense relationship with many cast members. His behavior was fueled by stress and burnout, but that did not make it easier to work with him. He clashed with McLean Stevenson so badly that Stevenson admitted to having a love-hate relationship with him. They would butt heads constantly. At one point, things got so heated that Wayne Rogers threw a chair at Burghoff in frustration. But the most complicated relationship was with Alda. Burghoff found the set challenging as the show focused more and more on Hawkeye. He felt underappreciated. And he took that frustration out on the people around him. While Alda remained professional, the tension between them was impossible to ignore. Some sources even suggest that Burghoff was the only co-star who truly disliked Alda. Not just disagreed. Disliked. On a personal level. So why did Alda wait until he was 88 years old to admit how much he hated him? The person Alan Alda truly clashed with was not Mike Farrell. It was not McLean Stevenson or Wayne Rogers. Those men had disagreements with Alda, but they were professional frustrations about screen time and character development. The real tension was with Gary Burghoff, the actor who played Radar O'Reilly. Burghoff was brilliant. McLean Stevenson himself admitted that Burghoff was probably the best actor among them. But brilliance came with a price. Burghoff was moody, difficult, and often isolated himself from the rest of the cast. He was the only cast member who appeared in both the original 1970 MAS*H movie and the television series, but that did not make him feel appreciated. The set of MAS*H had a lot of tension. Stevenson and Burghoff had a love-hate relationship. They would argue and then make up. Wayne Rogers once got so annoyed with Berghoff that he threw a chair at him. This was not a happy family. This was a workplace full of stressed-out actors trying to keep their sanity. Berghoff carried a lot of personal stress. He was battling burnout. He was dealing with family issues. And he felt underappreciated. While other actors wrote episodes and directed them, Berghoff wrote an episode about Radar that never got made. That must have stung. Alda tried to be professional. He did not publicly express hatred for anyone. But the tension with Berghoff was real. And when Berghoff finally left the show in season 7, some people thought it was because of Alda. That is not entirely true. Berghoff left because of burnout and a desire to focus on his family. But the friction between them did not help. Alda kept his feelings private for decades. He never spoke badly about Berghoff in public. He stayed silent. And then, at 88 years old, he finally admitted how much he truly hated him. For decades, Alan Alda kept his mouth shut. He appeared in interviews. He attended reunions. He smiled and talked about the show's legacy. But he never said a single bad word about Gary Berghoff in public. That silence finally broke when Alda was 88 years old. He did not go on a talk show. He did not write a tell-all book. The confession came in a quiet moment, during an interview, when he was asked about his time on MAS*H. And what he admitted shocked everyone who heard it. Alda revealed that he truly hated Berghoff. Not just disliked him. Not just found him difficult. Hated him. Those words carried the weight of 40 years of silence. The thing is, Alda was known as the nicest guy in Hollywood. He was the peacemaker on set. He was the one who supported his co-stars when they were struggling. When Berghoff was dealing with burnout and personal problems, Alda tried to help him. He did not publicly attack him. He did not try to get him fired. But underneath that professional kindness, something darker was brewing. The tension between them was not just about creative differences. It was personal. Berghoff found the set challenging as Alda's character, Hawkeye, became the center of the show. He felt overshadowed. He felt unappreciated. And he took that frustration out on the people around him. Alda, meanwhile, was trying to do his job. He was writing episodes. He was directing. He was carrying the show on his shoulders. And he had to deal with a co-star who made every day difficult. The TV Guide report from 1983 summed it up perfectly. One of the principals on the show said, "We loved Radar, hated Berghoff." Another added that Berghoff had personality problems. He was rude to everyone. He threw tantrums. And if anyone said anything back to him, he would explode. But Alda stayed silent. Until he was 88. Why would Alan Alda keep this hatred bottled up for decades? Why wait until 88 years old to finally say the words out loud? The answer is more complicated than you might think. First, Alda is a professional. He has always been careful about his public image. He built a career as the nice guy, the thoughtful intellectual, the actor who cared about the craft. Admitting hatred for anyone would have shattered that image. So he stayed quiet. He smiled at reunions. He said nice things in interviews. He protected the legacy of MAS*H. Second, the hatred was not simple. It was tangled up with something else. Something that made it harder to admit. Gary Berghoff was not just difficult. He was deeply troubled. During the later seasons of MAS*H, Berghoff was going through a painful divorce. He was dealing with depression and burnout. He admitted in his autobiography that his frequent snits and outbursts on the set were inevitably followed by guilt feelings over what I'd just said or done. He knew he was being difficult. He knew he was lashing out. But he could not stop himself. That makes the situation complicated. How do you hate someone who is clearly suffering? How do you stay angry at a man who is falling apart? Alda knew Berghoff was struggling. He even tried to support him. When Berghoff was dealing with personal issues, Alda stepped in to help. But that did not make the daily tension any easier. Alda was carrying the weight of the show on his shoulders. He was writing episodes, directing, and dealing with the pressures of being the star. And he had to do all of that while navigating a relationship with someone who made every day difficult. In a moment of surprising grace, Alda once presented an Emmy to Berghoff and said, "It gives me an opportunity to tell the world what a wonderful, gifted and outstanding person Gary Berghoff is," something he, of course, would not say about himself. Those words sound kind. But if you listen closely, you can hear the strain. Alda was doing what he always did. He was being professional. He was being gracious. He was hiding the truth behind a smile. But at 88, the mask finally slipped. The confession at 88 was not just about hatred. It was about something much deeper. It was about the weight of carrying a secret for 40 years. Alan Alda spent his entire career being the nice guy. He was the one who defended his co-stars. He was the one who refused to throw anyone under the bus. He was the one who kept his frustrations private while the set of MAS*H sometimes felt like a war zone. But that kindness came at a cost. When Gary Berghoff left the show in season 7, he did not leave because of Alda. He left because of burnout. He was dealing with a painful divorce. He was struggling with personal demons. He admitted in his autobiography that his outbursts on set were always followed by guilt. He knew he was difficult. He knew he was lashing out. But he could not stop himself. That made the situation heartbreaking. Alda could not simply hate Berghoff without also feeling sorry for him. He could not stay angry at a man who was clearly falling apart. That complexity is what kept him silent for so long. But here is the thing. Alda's silence was not just about protecting Berghoff. It was about protecting himself. He did not want to be the guy who spoke badly about a co-star. He did not want to be the bitter old man holding a grudge. He wanted to be remembered as the professional who handled everything with grace. And for 40 years, he succeeded. When he finally admitted the truth at 88, it was not a moment of bitterness. It was a moment of honesty. After decades of keeping his feelings bottled up, he finally let the world see the real story. He did not attack Berghoff. He did not blame him. He simply told the truth about how he felt. And that truth is this. Alan Alda did not hate Gary Berghoff because he was a bad person. He hated him because their personalities clashed. Because the tension on set was unbearable. Because every day felt like a battle. And because, despite everything, he still cared about him. In a surprising moment of grace, Alda once presented an Emmy to Berghoff and said he was a wonderful, gifted, outstanding person. Those words sound kind. But when you know the full story, you can hear the strain. Alda was doing what he always did. He was being professional. He was being gracious. He was hiding the truth behind a smile. At 88, the smile finally faded. And the truth came out. Do you think Alan Alda should have spoken up sooner about his feelings, or was staying silent the right thing to do for the sake of the show's legacy? Let me know in the comments below.